How would you feel if I told you that you could never share your drawings or paintings anymore? To anyone. Not to any friends, not online, nowhere. This is a question I came across recently that I found to be really interesting. It's meant to help you understand whether you're doing something because you intrinsically enjoy doing it, or if you have any other ulterior motives hidden somewhere in the back of your mind. And if you're like me, this question and scenario might actually give you a deep and weird sense of relief. What could we do if no one was watching? If there was no pressure or comparison to other people? How much fun would it be to just draw for yourself in secret? Maybe that's how you started. Do you still do it? Today, I wanted to take a moment and talk to you about this subject because since I asked myself that question, I just can't stop thinking about it. And in the meantime, let's relax and do the thing that makes me the happiest: drawing on my sketchbook and exploring different themes with my favorite materials. For this video, I wanted to try and have a cozy, laid-back drawing session just for myself. So I gave myself a couple of days to just not take things too seriously and have some fun. And I want to take you on this journey with me. So sit back, grab a snack, and maybe even your sketchbook to draw along with me, and let's get started. So, as with most things, there are so many different sides and perspectives to these types of conversations. For example, I fully understand and value the power of sharing our work, especially online. Whether it's to get some feedback and improve your skills, to make yourself accountable for your progress, to help other people, or to simply get recognition and feel a sense of pride in your work. It can all be a really healthy and helpful thing. But as things have changed and evolved in the art world, it feels like maybe things have shifted a bit too much into a different direction. Almost as if you don't share anything, it actually never happened. And I know that there are so many people who are really good at this and can distance themselves from what they share and create freely for themselves what they want to. That's the classical and oldest definition of an artist. They are just really good at what they do by themselves, and if you're lucky, you get to see their creations or even purchase them. But other than that, you weren't really supposed to even see them work or know anything about their process. That's something that would only happen in a closed studio, filled with sketches, failed experiments, messy materials, and lots of trial and errors. And today, that can still happen too, but it has become more and more rare. To the point that if you want to become an artist yourself, to have the biggest chance to succeed, you might need to share it all before you're even really sure of what you're doing. You might even fear trying new things or failing, because it's not pretty enough and not as clean or organized as it should be in the eyes of everyone else. As a quick disclaimer, there are still many ways you can go about it. You can simply study and get a job in the industry. You can just draw for fun and not want to make it your career. You might even enjoy the process of sharing your work just as much as you enjoy creating it. But today, I wanted to talk about my personal experience and feelings, which I believe mirror that of a lot of young artists and creatives nowadays. This is the era of online culture, social media, overstimulation, and overconsumption. I don't want to talk about it necessarily as a fault of our own for engaging with it, but as an almost unavoidable sea that we realistically have to tread through if we want the best chances to succeed. Right now I'm doing the same thing. I share a lot of my process online, not just here on YouTube or over on Instagram, but also on Patreon, where I talk a little bit more in depth about my process, techniques, and materials. It's something I genuinely love to do, and I'm so grateful that I even get to do it in the first place. But after posting very consistently and frequently, after many years, things started to shift. I'm no longer drawing and then posting what I did, but rather actively creating work that's basically made with the purpose of being shared. There's nothing really wrong with that since it is my full-time job, it does make sense. But then I realized that I've been feeling that shift way before I even became an artist in the first place. It made me sit back and really think about what I was doing and how I could try to explore and manage my relationship with art and creativity. Can I draw and have fun without having to share it? Is it crazy that I'm even thinking about it this way? Or is this a real phenomenon that we should be talking about more? Instead of being all doom and gloom about these topics, I always try to instead find and go towards the things that I believe make art and any creative work just beautiful. Have you seen these pictures from the Disney studios back in the 90s? I've been really fascinated and in love with these pictures. They came from the famous book Disney Animation, The Illusion of Life, where it was shown just how much care and effort was put into learning the anatomy and movement of any creatures that were later drawn and animated in different motion pictures. They would create these amazing environments where you could meet different animals in real life, see how they moved, how they felt, and learn to capture their structure and essence before stylizing and animating them into film. There's this sort of beauty and comfort in seeing art being handled with care, in seeing a creative process that takes as much time as it needs. And today, it seems like everything moves and is expected to be accomplished so fast. This might not even be what happens in reality, but it's definitely how the structure of the online art world and the constantly present algorithms make it seem. Today, we can just Google it, and that's an incredible gift and resource that I think we're also thankful for. But in a weird way, it also feels like convenience has taken something away from the creative and learning process. Something that made me realize that even more was listening to Aaron Blaise talk about how he and his team created the animations for Brother Bear, one of my favorite movies from my childhood.
We went to Alaska several times and researched, and so all this stuff comes from direct research. There's a scene where they're up on a hillside where they're leaning into the wind and the wind's holding them up. We were in Alaska in a place called Turnagain Arm, which is this little funnel valley that the wind just gets compressed and just flies down. Our producer, Chuck Williams, and myself got up on the edge of this cliff and just kind of leaned into the wind. Oh, wow. And it was we were holding our jackets out. And we're like, we got to put this in the movie. And so that became part of the movie. You know, we talked about going on these research trips, and people are like, why don't you just go on Google? But there's something about, you go to the place and you smell the smells and you go through these experiences that spark ideas that become part of the story.
There are definitely many ways of doing this. And there is no right or wrong answer, especially when it comes to building our own art skills or bringing to life ambitious projects. So I don't mean to plainly say that things used to be better, but it just makes me realize how much things have changed, and how online culture has become so vast and overwhelming that sometimes it might not even be helpful to the creative process. Things are encouraged to be fast and pretty, and if you want to become an independent artist, your art might not be able to speak for itself anymore. Even though we just want to create the stuff we love, you might need to show your face, share your process, learn new skills like filming and video editing. You might even enjoy those things, but somewhere along the way, your relationship with art might change, and you might have to readjust some things here and there to be able to connect with drawing just for yourself again. And if you're looking to improve your own creative skills away from the pressures of social media and algorithms, today's sponsor might be the right place to start. This video is sponsored by Skillshare. Skillshare is the largest online learning community, filled with classes taught by industry experts that guide you and help you improve on your favorite creative skills, from writing, illustration, music, photography, graphic design, and more. It's a fun and intuitive place where you can take the time you need to follow the classes you love, connect with the community, and even share your own projects. I've previously taken classes to improve my productivity, to learn more about sketching in nature, and lately, I've even been exploring new ways to play around with my illustrations, like through animation, with Jakob Weinstein's Animate Your Art Motion Graphics with After Effects and Photoshop class. It's really exciting to be able to explore new things and take a chance on different creative outlets you might be interested in, all in one organized and ever-growing space. If you're interested in learning more and following a particular career, Skillshare now also offers learning paths, which are curated classes that will guide you in your journey and make sure that you not only improve your skills, but also take them to the next level and thrive professionally. So if this summer you want to invest more time doing the things that bring you joy, or want to finally explore a new exciting creative hobby, this might be the perfect time to get started. And if you'd like to give it a try for free, remember that the first 500 people to use my link in the description will receive a 1-month free trial of Skillshare. Come check it out and get started today. Thank you Skillshare for sponsoring this video. Do you remember the feeling of drawing before there was any social media? There's a chance you never did, or maybe you still do that and don't necessarily collect or share your work. But I vividly remember. It was, of course, a different time. I would probably be drawing in class or at home in my spare time, and I remember not even thinking about what I would do with my drawings. It felt like a game where there was no perception of the time it took to create anything. And I didn't even think about different materials. I would just draw with graphite and wanted to improve on what I was doing. Not because I wanted to be better than anyone, but just because I saw how the more time I spent doing it, the better I got at it. And so the past me was my only source of comparison. It's very clear that when there aren't any stakes or real consequences, especially when you're just a kid with no major responsibilities, creativity seems to just come so easily. There wasn't a lot of pressure for me, and I got to truly explore in a quiet, simple environment. But today, there are so many young artists that are the same age I was when I started, already surrounded by the noise and pressures we find online, from the helpful and endless resources to the unfortunately unnecessary and overstimulating content. For this video, I wanted to try and recreate one of those drawing sessions for myself because, ironically, I found that I have the best time and often create the best work when I'm just going with the flow and doing what I feel like inspires me that day. I, of course, am still filming and readjusting things here and there, but I'm mostly focusing on letting go of how things look and just making sure I'm enjoying my time here in my office, my little creative corner. So let's try and answer a few questions from my perspective as an artist. Should you share your work online? Is social media worth it? Well, if you had asked me this question just a few years ago, I would have said absolutely yes. But today we have growing concerns about machine learning and the scraping of our creative works. So my answer is still yes, as long as you can protect yourself through image cloaking tools like Glaze, and if you're able to object to the use of your publicly available work for training, like I was able to do through Meta. The truth is, most of the harm has already been done, and all we can do is to protect our future work. But there's still hope that with time, there can be protections put in place for artists. It's definitely still a bit of wishful thinking, but I prefer to believe that than to lose hope altogether. But maybe that's a topic for another video. For now, all I can say is that the pros still outweigh the cons, especially if you're just beginning your journey. You can find a community, share what you've learned, and potentially find work opportunities and build connections with like-minded people. As long as you can find the right corners of the internet, there are still really happy and inspiring places to be in, and hopefully they'll keep growing and giving us a safe space to be creative for a really long time. What are some downsides of sharing your work? There are definitely a few things to keep in mind if you're planning on putting your work out there. There's always a chance of someone trying to steal your work, which is a terrible thing to go through. At this point, as long as you try not to upload your work with the highest quality possible and keep your work and community together and focus on yourself, people often understand and catch stolen art fairly quickly. You'll also have to be able to face criticism, which, if you're an artist, might just be something you're used to already. Most of the time, it's really great to get constructive criticism and feedback in order to grow. But it's also a reality that when you put yourself out there, you'll find all types of people that might not enjoy your kind of work, or just leave any messages and comments they want, even if they're not helpful. It's the internet, so I think at this point you'll see this happen even if you're just sharing a cute video of your cat. It's just a part of the environment. It's also important to say that today, there are more and more predatory companies and individuals that can try and take advantage of you and your work. But the good thing is that as long as you are able to keep the right people with you, by just focusing on your own work and being aware of your own worth and value, it should all be okay. How do we find balance? If you've been feeling a little bit overwhelmed with everything and feel very pressured to perform and do your best work every day, let me share with you a few things that I've done recently that have really helped me to refresh my relationship with my art and my own creative process. I'm not sure if you'll be able to relate to all of these, but hopefully, even if just one of them can help you, I'll be super happy. Draw away from screens. So I don't know if I'm the only one feeling this, but recently I found that when I'm drawing in front of screens for a really long time, there's this sort of fog and numbness that adds a lot of friction to my process. It's still really helpful when using references and finding inspiration, but in reality, something I was missing was just to practice drawing from my imagination more and going outside more often. That includes using a mirror to reference a pose or expression, being more focused and aware of what surrounds me, and drawing more using live references with no distractions. This, of course, applies mostly to traditional art, which is also one of the reasons why I've been enjoying it so much more these past few months. Not only is it refreshing to notice different things around you, like light, shadows, colors, textures, and taking the time to study them right in front of you, but the ability to paint and draw using materials that feel organic and sometimes even a little bit messy has just perfectly reminded me of how much I love art. And in a way, it grounds me to reality, away from all the noise and pressure. We eventually need to get back to screens, so this isn't really a permanent solution. But I just found that keeping a good balance between the two has been incredibly helpful. Heck, I get excited when my desk is a mess at the end of the day. And packing different supplies on my backpack when I go on hikes gets me so pumped. Suddenly, drawing or practicing isn't connected to pressure anymore, but instead to adventure. I can feel the fun coming back to me, and I'm looking forward to the ink stains on my hands at the end of the day. Doesn't happen every time. It needs to be a conscious effort, but it's just like anything else. The more you do it, the better it gets. Keep a secret sketchbook. Something that has really helped me cope with some perfectionism and anxiety has been to get a secret sketchbook where I draw whatever I want away from any expectations. I used to take my sketchbook everywhere hoping I'd use it like I did when I was a teenager back in school, but now I felt so much pressure to make everything perfect that I could never bring myself to do it. But now, using a secret sketchbook that can be messy and experimental, I get to use it so much more, just because I look at it as a study and exploration rather than something I need to make sure looks nice and put together all the time. I actually don't know why it took me so long to do something like this, because now it seems like such an obvious and simple option. It's the equivalent of a spare piece of paper, but made into a safe space by itself. And now, after a few months of doing it, there are so many really interesting things that have happened. A lot of what I ended up making on my secret sketchbook was just messier, but I ended up learning a lot more because that's what I was really focused on. I found a lot of interesting material combinations I had never thought of before because I was just playing around without any regards for the final result. I also ended up making drawings that I really loved too, which ironically I felt like sharing but ultimately didn't, just to not defeat the entire purpose of this practice. There are so many positive things that came out of it. Bringing it over to my couch to just doodle with a pen while watching TV has become such a fun thing to do at the end of the day. No pressure, no expectation, just enjoying the act and feeling of drawing. It has been so refreshing. And you won't believe the best part of this whole thing. I actually started to get less scared or anxious to draw on my actual publicly shared sketchbook because I got even more used to doing it, to getting started even when I'm not sure of what I'm going to do. Realizing that a page that isn't as quote-unquote pretty is just another page, and there are so many more to go. It really doesn't matter. It truly is about the process. And that's something else that I've learned. Don't share everything. One of the challenges that I set for myself these past few months was to draw more than what I shared, because at a certain point in my journey, I found myself sharing everything I was doing, and that just added a lot of unnecessary pressure that didn't really help me improve or have a good time. This might not apply to you right now, but you might have found yourself in a similar situation before. If we want to grow, we try our best to share our work consistently and constantly. This might encourage you to just get as much as you can out there. And suddenly, a not-so-pretty page, which could have been a great learning experience or just a fun experiment, can turn from a regular drawing session to a wasted page. This isn't real, and it shouldn't be something that's just sitting in the back of our minds. Everything you put down on a page is worthy of being there, if not for it just being practice, which is what will ultimately get you to where you want to be. I know this isn't something that might be easy to do because a lot of us might not have the time to create that much work. But for me, just trying to change my mentality and trying to see posting my work as something I do when I particularly love something I've done and not necessarily because I just need to share it anyways, has been really helpful. This is something I'm still actively working on, and it doesn't really work out every time since this is my job, but still focusing on making small changes in my mindset, embracing challenges, celebrating my accomplishments no matter how small, and just grounding all of it in a solid sense of gratitude has made me a happier and less anxious artist and person. So don't share everything, and the next time you create something that makes you feel really proud, try to see how it feels if you just keep it to yourself. Maybe frame it, showcase it in your workspace to remind yourself of what you can do and how much you love doing it. Change is inevitable, and there's no point in running away from it. But there will always be healthier ways of adapting to a routine and mindset that lets you share your creativity with the world and still hold on to the love and care you have for your creative works. There's a real power in separating what we do and share online with our perception of our own worth and well-being. And for that, I'll keep doing my best to stay connected and in love with what I do, especially when no one's watching. And how about you? Do you draw just for yourself? Have you felt the shift in the art world online? I'd love to hear your stories, so leave them down below and let's support each other. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.